This is episode number 16, race 16 on the season. Hamilton's got this one almost locked away, has nearly a 3-race advantage. That was slimmed just a bit after the last race, but it's still somewhere at about 60 points ahead of the rest of the field. What the rest of the 19 drivers, or I guess drivers left in contention for the title, are hoping Hamilton has a bad day and they are able to capitalize on it. That all that goes into a day that's able to capitalize on somebody else's mistakes. Start here in qualifying. We have the 18-minute qualifying session. Drivers out on outlaps now is Lando Norris, Malenko, Romain Grosjean, Pierre Gasly, Sergio Perez, Kevin Magnussen, Alexander Albon, and Tyler Markle. All those drivers looking to set the best times they can to see where they start on tomorrow's grid. Antonio Giovinazzi also joined us on an outlap. Sebastian Vettel as well. And Kevin Magnussen comes off of the final corner. He will start the first timed lap. Magnussen into turn 1. We're trying to see if Haas can pick up the results here towards the we're now in the final third of the season. The first third of the season, they were okay. The second third, they kind of dropped below where they should have been running. I think points were harder to come by for Haas in the second third of the season. So into this final third, they're hoping for a little bit of momentum coming through Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. Right behind Kevin Magnussen is the Red Bull of Pierre Gasly. So on board with Gasly now as they work their way, Magnussen and Gasly work their way through the final sector.
Oh!
And Markle crashes out in qualifying. That is not good. That means at least one of the Renaults will start on the back row of the grid. Off the final corner, Magnussen, Gasly, they're coming to the line. Magnussen tops the chart, Gasly tops him. A 1:18.986. Trouble for Markle, we don't know what happened. Norris goes second quickest, and Grosjean goes fourth quickest. And a caution in sector 3. That was Malenko. So Gasly, Norris, Magnussen, Perez. Top 4. Sebastian Vettel going for the pole now. Right now in sector 3, we'll see where Vettel can end up here on the chart. Alexander Albon goes 6th quickest. Malenko goes 2nd quickest. We'll see where Vettel comes now through the final corners. Giovinazzi goes 8th quickest, and Vettel 3rd quickest for Sebastian Vettel. Kimi Räikkönen on an outlap, along with George Russell. Charles Leclerc now coming to join us on an outlap. Valtteri Bottas on a fast lap. Let's ride on board with the Mercedes. Kvyat, Verstappen, Leclerc, Räikkönen, Russell on outlaps. Kubica, Bottas on a timed lap. Now Carlos Sainz joins us on an outlap. We're waiting on Lance Stroll, Lewis Hamilton to join us. Stroll's on an outlap. Lewis Hamilton will be the last of the 19 remaining drivers to set a lap time. Well, Valtteri Bottas possibly hindered on his lap. He was able to get around the Renault pretty cleanly. We'll see how it deals with the lap here. He did have some slipstream though. He caught the Renault in the right spot. We'll find out this time by the start-finish line. Robert Kubica should be by the start-finish line in just a moment. Kubica goes 8th quickest, and Bottas, waiting on Valtteri Bottas. Bottas to the start-finish line. He will go 3rd quickest. Valtteri Bottas. George Russell on the timed lap, as well as Kimi Räikkönen. Räikkönen and Kvyat on timed laps. Leclerc as well. Now through sector 1, we'll see if Leclerc can maybe get to the pole. Lewis Hamilton on an outlap. We wait on him as well. Sainz, Stroll on outlap. Raikkonen, Leclerc, Kvyat, Verstappen, Russell, and Sainz on a timed lap. Now everybody's on a timed lap. Lewis Hamilton will be the last driver to set a timed lap of the 19. 12 minutes remain here in qualifying. Leclerc either being hindered or getting a slipstream off of Daniel Kvyat. He's on a timed lap as well. Kvyat is. So this is going to be interesting. He's not really being hindered, but the Ferrari getting slipstream down the straightaway. The DRS straight here in the final sector now. I think Leclerc's being hindered, but it's hard to tell because Kvyat gets the acceleration on Leclerc, but I really don't know. I feel like Leclerc's lap time will not be as good as it should be. Now, coming through the final corner and to the start-finish line, Leclerc with the slipstream goes 7th quickest. I believe Leclerc can go a little bit faster, not extremely. Russell, 15th quickest. Max Verstappen, top of the chart, a 1:18.881. And now it's a Red Bull front row and a cautions in sector 1 and 2. That would be Monaco on an outlap. Carlos Sainz goes 5th quickest. Lance Stroll, we await him. Lance Stroll goes 11th quickest. How about that for Lance Stroll? And now Lewis Hamilton through the final set of corners. Hamilton looking for pole. Here he comes out of the final corner. DRS to the start finish line. He goes 4th quickest. Lewis Hamilton. So that is the first round of drivers to set timed laps. Verstappen tops the chart, a 1:18.881. Pierre Gasly starts at the moment alongside of him. Then it's Vereno and Monaco. Hamilton and Bottas for 5th. And then it's Sainz, Vettel, Norris, Magnussen, and Leclerc running out the top 10. It's a Racing Point row 6. Albon, Raikkonen the next, followed by Kvyat, Kubica, Grosjean, Giovinazzi, Russell, and Markle. Did not put a time down and will not. But now we start the second round of lap times as we ride on board with Monaco to give us a hot lap around Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. Full song down the front straightaway, 8th gear, all the way down to 4th gear through turns 1 and 2. And then through turn 3, the long sweeping right-hander into the grass a little bit. He heads down to the carousel now. Through the carousel, was in 4th gear, now down into what would be the start of the second sector. Up the gears we go now. 6th into 7th before breaking down to 5th for the left right onto the short chute before the DRS straight here that starts sector 3. Grabs the DRS, 7th gear, full song down the straight up to 8th gear, breaks at the 100-meter sign. Down to 2nd gear. Very tight corner on this circuit. Another quick left to right through another carousel. And on the way to the final chicane of the circuit. 6th gear, entering down to 4th. Down to 2nd through the finals of the chicane. 4th, 5th, 6th, and climbing. DRS there. Does improve on the time, but does not improve position-wise at 1:19.111 for Vereno. Just under 8.5 minutes remain here in qualifying. Can the Renault, the lone Renault, do it here in qualifying? Right now, the only car on the track is that Renault. it's interesting. We usually see Renault qualify very well throughout the entire season, and right now they're not even in the same range as the Red Bulls. So right now the Red Bulls are in the 118 range, and though he's right there at a 119.1, he's knocking on the door of the 118s. He's not in the same bracket as the Red Bulls, is what I'm saying. It's 118 top of the charts, 119 through the rest of the top 10, 120 through the top part of the second half, and then 121's at the bottom of the grid. Pierre Gasly, by the way, starts an outlap as Malenko heads back to the pits. Pierre Gasly right now second. Clearly Red Bull has the power to start up front and set the fastest times at this circuit. This really isn't a speed circuit, but this also really isn't a cornering circuit. This is more of an intermediate circuit if we've ever seen one. Kind of decently long straights, a lot of different types of corners between long sweeping corners and short chicanes. DRS straights aren't too long. It's not heavy on passing opportunities. There's a few, there's 2 or 3. And right now Red Bull looks to be the best car all around. Mercedes, you can tell, is more of a speed track kind of, a speed circuit kind of team. Ferrari more of a handling circuit kind of team, and Red Bull kind of going both ways here. Pierre Gasly now on a timed lap. Let's ride on board. He's going for pole. Along with him, Sebastian Vettel on an out lap. Sergio Perez on an out lap. See if Gasly can top the charts with just over 5 3/4 remaining in quali. Norris joins us on an out lap. Perez starts a timed lap. Malenko on another out lap already. Did not really give the engine time to cool down. Just going to go straight out on another set of softs while the track is relatively clear. There's still a few cars out there, but relatively clear as it is. We're about to get an influx of drivers out of the pit lane in the coming minutes. Sebastian Vettel starts a timed lap. So here comes Gasly through the final corners. Where will he go? Where will he be on the charts? Does he outdo his teammate? For the moment he does. It's a 118.809 for the Red Bull. Let's now jump on in the lap with Sebastian Vettel trying to go for pole. Lando Norris starts a timed lap. We'll get Sergio Perez's new lap time if he improves on the board to your left. Sebastian Vettel, full song, 7th gear though, did not get to 8th, and shouldn't through that straightaway, but revving out the 7th gear there. Here comes Sebastian Vettel. Looks like Sergio Perez did not improve on his lap. Sebastian Vettel to the start-finish line. Full song, trying to get the best he can. He goes 5th quickest at the moment. But that is not really that fast of a lap compared to the Red Bulls. A 119, 4:12. Let's ride on board with Malenko now. Norris on a timed lap. And Albon on an out lap with Giovinazzi. 3.5 remaining in qualifying. On board with Malenko. Trying to go for pole, trying to outdo the Red Bulls. Trying to bust into that 118 bracket. And we've been talking about that the Red Bulls have been the only ones able to achieve in qualifying. 15 minutes down, 3 to go. Albon, Grosjean, Giovinazzi on outlaps. Norris, how about that? Goes 5th quickest in that McLaren. Sergio Perez did not improve. Magnussen on an outlap. So we got Giovinazzi, Grosjean, Kubica, Albon, Magnussen on outlaps. Malenko trying to set a timed lap and goes wide. Still keeps the lap alive, kinda, and he destroys that corner there. Maybe he'll try to go into the pits and get another go. We'll see. He heads into the pits. We'll see if he gets another go. He's got to get to the pits, get a new set of tires, and absolutely fly around the circuit without using ERS, of course, and then turning it up for the timed lap. We get Alexander Albon on a timed lap as well. Giovinazzi on a timed lap. Huet Grosjean and Kubica. Grosjean on a timed lap now. Leclerc on an out lap. Raikkonen on an out lap. Kubica starts a timed lap. And then we should get the rest of the game. 1 3/4 remaining here in qualifying. Magnussen starts a timed lap. Stroll's on an out lap. We'll see where Albon can improve upon his time here in the final sector. Magnussen on a timed lap, like we said. Hamilton, Verstappen on out laps. So Alexander Albon will cross the start-finish line. He will go 12 quickest. Let's join Kevin Magnussen. Leclerc is on an out lap, or on a timed lap as well. We're expecting Stroll, Raikkonen, Kvyat, and Sainz to start timed laps as well. Kevin Magnussen may approach, I believe, Lance Stroll here on his timed lap. 1 minute remaining, and looks like Pierre Gasly will lock in his time. Malenko will lock in that time, and Magnussen catches Lance Stroll and will be hindered big time. Stroll, huge roadblock for the Haas of Kevin Magnussen. We join Valtteri Bottas on a time. Actually, let's join Charles Leclerc on a time lap. He's actually following Bottas. Actually, no, Leclerc is leading Bottas. Magnussen being hindered big time by Magnussen, or by Stroll. Magnussen does not improve on his time. Likely because of Lance Stroll right in front of him. 18 seconds remaining. Qualifying is going to go down to the wire. Max Verstappen, right now we ride on board with Red Bull. Can he outdo his teammate once more? At the moment it's a 1:18.881. Gasly a 1:18.809, and let's see where he ends up. Max Verstappen does not improve upon his position. But does that mean Pierre Gasly held the pole? Pierre Gasly will start on the pole for tomorrow's Spanish Grand Prix, alongside Max Verstappen. Row 2, Hamilton, Malenko. Row 3, Leclerc. So here we go. We head into the Spanish Grand Prix. This one, I believe, will be a whopping 26 laps, 25 laps, 26 laps, 27 laps, 33. It is a 66 lap race, so I guess it is one of the shorter circuits on the schedule. 33 laps. We got 20 drivers, 19 drivers starting on the tire that they qualified on. Well, actually 10 drivers are forced to. We have Markle in fresh Renault. 0 laps on the circuit in that Renault besides the reconnaissance lap leaving the pit lane. But besides that, he'll have 33 good ones to try to improve upon that 20th place starting spot. Before that, the all-important formation lap right now led by an all Red Bull front row. Pierre Gasly, Max Verstappen, row 1. Lewis Hamilton, Malenko, row 2. That is Mercedes and Renault represented. Row 3, the Ferrari of Leclerc, followed by the McLaren of Lando Norris. Row 4, Sebastian Vettel in that Ferrari, and Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes. Row 5, Carlos Sainz representing McLaren, and Magnussen in the Haas. Got hindered on his qualifying lap. Sergio Perez in the Racing Point starts alongside Alexander Albon down in row 6 in that Toro Rosso. Row 7 consists of the Racing Point of Lance Stroll. How about that starting position? And Kimi Raikkonen in the Alfa Romeo starts 14th. Row 8 consists of Romain Grosjean in the Haas, starting alongside Daniel Kvyat in the Toro Rosso. That is 16th. Row 9 consists of Robert Kubica in the Williams and Antonio Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo. And in the final row, George Russell is on the grid in that Williams, who will start alongside Moreno of Markle. Let's go ahead and let's see if we get a word with Markle. He's got nothing better to do at the moment.
Hello.
Markle, what happened to you in qualifying, and does that hurt your momentum heading into this weekend, if you would call it?
More likely it will hurt, but I just took a turn too fast and hit the curb and spun into the wall.
These curbs, easy to catch you out. We see the rest of the grid forming up here. One quick question. Do you think you can get into the points from the 20th position?
Yes.
Alright, so you heard it there. We'll see if he can live up to that. Pierre Gasly now gridded up. Rest of the field will grid up on the start-finish straight. As we get ready to embark on 33 laps of Spanish Grand Prix action here at Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. It's time to bring the action with 5 red lights, and it's a lights out, and away we go. The Red Bulls get off to absolutely stellar starts. No competition out back. Now Gasly moves down to block Verstappen. That allows Hamilton to get to the outside of Verstappen to make up the battle for second. Through the first set of corners, Malika now battling Charles Leclerc in that Ferrari, and Hamilton going all the way around the outside of Max Verstappen up to second. And now Vettel and Leclerc nose to tail as they battle Norris and Bottas. Malenko clears the battle of the dueling Ferraris and McLaren behind him. Now sets his sights on the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Let's take a look at Markle, who's already up 7 spots from where he started, trying to clear Lance Stroll and Kimi Räikkönen, and he will do so. He sets his sights on the other racing point of Sergio Perez. Up to the 13th position for Markle. Vettel and Bottas, they go toe-to-toe in the 7th position. Magnussen and Albon 10th. Malenko under attack from Lando Norris. They're going side by side, and Norris goes wide, tries to close the door, and Leclerc barges his way through. Norris says, no, don't you think about doing that, because he gets the acceleration on the exit. Now they're side by side into chicane. Leclerc fighting his way through the preferred line of the chicane, trying to clear Norris, and he does so. That Pierre Gasly sets the fastest lap of 1:25.330. For the first lap, it's 7 positions, and Perez is all over the road. Markle diving all the way to the inside, maybe trying to get a 3-for-1 special here in the turn 1, diving into the grass, making contact with Albon. Magnussen trying to clear all this. Markle going wide. He does get around Albon. Now looks to the left side, and around he goes. He keeps it going, though. What a save from the Renault, holding on to it right in front of Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll right there. And Marco's got to calm down, recollect the spots, and then try to go once again at Alexander Albon.
Just didn't break. There was a lot to.
Absolute madness there in the midfield. The Renault trying to make up spots has made up 8 already in lap 1 and a third. Now setting his sights on Alexander Albon. And the slipstream, no DRS yet. This time around at the start-finish line, DRS will be enabled after 2 green flag laps of racing. That is the rule. Malenko right now in 4th, kind of in no man's land. Hamilton and the Red Bulls proved to be a little too fast for that Renault, but the rest of the grid not able to keep up with them. And into session, Gasly, Hamilton, Verstappen setting fastest laps like that. A 1:22.559 from Verstappen on the soft compound in succession of the 2 in front of him. DRS is enabled. Lap 3 of 33. Sebastian Vettel, Lando Norris, they're going toe-to-toe for 5th. Making contact, heading their way to the carousel now. Vettel around the outside, trying to get back in front of Norris. Norris fighting hard on the inside. Vettel trying to stay out there. He's going real wide, trying to have the preferred line for the next corner. And he does, and clears Norris. Marco now up another position, does get around Alexander Albon, setting his sights on Kevin Magnussen now. They approach a DRS straight. Marco obviously within the 1 second range at DRS detection of Kevin Magnussen. Now, what can he do if it can he make the overtake? Slipstreaming and DRS on the Haas. Haas making his car as wide as possible. Marco goes around the outside. Can he complete the pass? Using some run out there side by side. It's heads up racing through the rest of the sector. Making contact. Marco takes out a pylon, has to regroup and get right back behind the Haas. Marco now all over the transmission, the gearbox of the Haas through the chicane. And now looks to grab DRS and go once again here on the front stretch. Looking to the left side now goes Marco, trying to make it a 10th spot that he's gained since he gridded up. Marco side by side with Magnussen now through turn 1, clears him into turn 2. And how about that? Already halfway through the field, that is 1 point to that Renault driver from starting dead last on the grid on lap 4. Back up front, Lewis Hamilton has passed both Gasly and Verstappen for the race lead and is setting sail just a little bit already, half a second out in front of Gasly. The Red Bulls and Malika, they better get on it if they want to contend with Hamilton this race. Hamilton just continues to open the gap now, 6.5 tenths of a second over Pierre Gasly. Gasly will have DRS on Hamilton though. Malenko not so much. Now he did get into 1 second. He does get DRS on Max Verstappen, just barely at DRS detection. Trying to re-implant himself into this battle, is over a second at the moment, just trying to stay with those Red Bulls who are trying to stay with Lewis Hamilton. Alexander Albon now loses 2 spots. Magnussen and Perez go by Albon. Albon must have gone wide through turn 2. Tyler Marco, a man on a mission. He already has 1 point, but he wants more. Literally a lap 5, setting his sights for more points after gridding last. We'll see if he can do it. He sets his sights on Carlos Sainz, Valtteri Bottas, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, and Sebastian Vettel starting to pull away from that queue, but they were queued up. Malenko using the DRS to stay within a second of Max Verstappen, who was all over the gearbox of Pierre Gasly, who was 8 tenths of a second behind Lewis Hamilton. Into the third sector we go. Everybody just trying to stay within a second of the next competitor. Verstappen just chilling in third, doesn't want to add any pressure to Gasly. Gasly's got it hard enough right now to try to stay within a second of Hamilton. Malenko going wide, clips some of the dirt there. Can he stay with them? Getting slipstream, getting DRS down the front stretch. Now it's a 1.5 seconds between himself and Lewis Hamilton. The Red Bulls are going toe to toe, but Hamilton is pulling away. That is the bad news. Verstappen, Gasly going toe-to-toe. Gasly trying to clear Verstappen. Verstappen around the outside. Malenko going wide. And Hamilton is, see you later. Malenko's front nose all in the gearbox of Pierre Gasly. And Gasly almost sent to no man's land, to Narnia, in that gravel trap out there out of turn number 4. Now Max Verstappen well over a 1.5 seconds of Lewis Hamilton. Malenko 2 seconds behind Hamilton and 0.5 seconds off of Verstappen. So neither of the front 2 have DRS, but the next 2 do. Through the third sector, Malenko sizing up Max Verstappen, looking for a way to overtake him. Goes wide through one of the corners. Verstappen into the pit lane now. So now it's a 2-second gap between Malenko and Lewis Hamilton. And he's got DRS off of Max Verstappen, so it's all clear. Now 1.9 seconds the gap between the front 2. Along with Verstappen is Vettel and Bottas and Sainz. and Magnussen. So those 5, they will rejoin from 16th through 20th on fresh mediums. So we expect more of the same, the front 5. We expect them in this lap to switch from softs to mediums. We will see. And then that means Tyler Markle is in the catbird seat and should take over the race lead once the front 5 pit. So we're in on Hamilton, Malenko, Gasly, Norris, Leclerc. We're all on softs. Here comes Hamilton. Malenko follows suit. Here Gasly follows suit, all as stated. Looks like Lando Norris does, followed by Charles Leclerc. And that means Tyler Markle from last to first. And guess what? 8 laps. How about that? And grabs the DRS just for fun over getting the second at the DRS detection point off of Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton rejoins the grid right in the mix of the battle between Kubica and Russell in the 10th position on fresh mediums. Malenko's got to capitalize on slower traffic, holding up Hamilton. Hamilton's gotten around Verstappen and Russell. Malenko actually has to get around Verstappen as well. Hamilton now looks for Robert Kubica. Everybody's on a set of mediums right now. Just the 10 that started 11th through 20th. Malenko diving from last year to the inside of Verstappen in a really aggressive move, trying to get a 2-for-1 special. Hits the inside of Russell. Holds on to 12th and has to slide through the grass, keeping those tires on their toes. Still somehow in front of Verstappen, by the way. And now Lewis Hamilton looks to the left side of Robert Kubica, to the right side, left side of your screen. Kubica gets squeezed out by Hamilton. Hamilton goes wide. Kubica looking for the crossover, and Hamilton drives on the exit. So Malenko's got a couple of Williams between himself and Lewis Hamilton. He's got to be less aggressive and back into the gearbox of George Russell. Another time making contact with Russell in the same lap. And I'm sure that front wing is not liking that. Now the DRS comes. Now he can look to overtake Russell. Russell being aggressive on the blocks. He's already been contacted twice by Vareno behind him. Hamilton already around Giovinazzi for 8th. This is the race right here. Markle has a 7-second lead over Sergio Perez, 2nd place. Alexander Albon right now sat 3rd. Kimi Räikkönen 4th, Lance Stroll 5th, Romain Grosjean 6th. Malenko, a dive from last year, must have gotten a quarter cutting warning right there. Gets around Robert Kubica. Now it's Giovinazzi that connects Hamilton and Malenko. Hamilton setting his sights on Daniel Kvyat in front of him. Malenko well over a second back at Giovinazzi at the DRS detection point and does not get DRS. Should be able to this time around though, as Hamilton has the DRS opportunity on Daniel Kvyat and friends, Grosjean and Stroll as well. This time by at the start-finish line. And around goes Giovinazzi. I can assume probably contacted from Malenko right now, holding up. Oh, and there's contact. That's Bottas into the back of Sebastian Vettel. And a virtual safety car is deployed for that incident. Oh, Giovinazzi almost contacts Kevin Magnussen. Giovinazzi just trying to get back going. And he will. The virtual safety car deployed. Markle a 10-second lead over Sergio Perez. Malenko right now sat 9th. He wanted a safety car, not a virtual one, to try to gain the gap to Lewis Hamilton. At the moment, it's about 2 seconds. So riding under the virtual safety car now, Markle has a 10-second lead over Sergio Perez. Kimi Räikkönen just got around Alexander Albon for third. Lance Stroll fifth. Romain Grosjean sixth. Daniel Kvyat seventh. They are all on 9-lap-old mediums. Lewis Hamilton 8th. Malenko 9th. They're on fresh mediums. Kubica 10th. Russell 11th. They are on 9-lap-old mediums. Verstappen 12th. Gasly 13th. Bottas 14th. Vettel 15th. Leclerc 16th. Norris 17th. Magnussen 18th. Sainz 19th. They are on fresh mediums. Giovinazzi's now sat 20th after causing the virtual safety car, which is now entered its hiding spot once again. Right now, sat 20th Giovinazzi on old 9-lap-old mediums. Malenko a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. I knew that one was coming. Anybody with eyeballs at work could see that one was coming.
So the penalties don't show. I don't even know I was getting a warning for doing that. I did that cut in qualifying. I never got a warning, so I've been cutting that because I haven't been getting warnings. It not telling me that. Alright then.
So Malenko now has a 3-second time penalty. He's got his work cut out for him. Hamilton is about that much ahead of Malenko, so Malenko's got to chase that down, close, pass Hamilton, gap him, and gap 3 seconds by the end of this race. And Hamilton right now in a fierce battle with Daniel Kvyat. Luckily for Malenko, did not get around Kvyat that time around, being held up through this third sector. My assumption, though, is Malenko has some wing damage after literally exploring the gearbox of George Russell for a few laps. Hamilton now onto the front stretch. He should have easy access to getting around Kvyat. No, he will not be able to get around Kvyat this time, but there's contact up front. Grosjean and Stroll, they're going at it for fifth. Which this could hold up Hamilton. Grosjean just cuts off Stroll. Stroll was able to get back in line. Kvyat now blocking. Hamilton trying to hold and try to get around this as cleanly as possible without losing the front end. All this happening and Malenko not capitalizing enough as he should. Hamilton being held up big time by drivers on 7-lap older tires. Now Hamilton looks to the right side of Daniel Kvyat. Kvyat trying to keep the position. They're going side by side now. Up the hill, Hamilton trying to clear Kvyat, and he does so. Kvyat looking to the inside, but Hamilton gets the drive on the exit. Saw that going on. Hamilton was able to catch on Lance Stroll, not able to pass him. How long did the drivers who started this race on mediums go on those mediums? And is it a 2-stop race? So right now Hamilton sizing up Lance Stroll. Has not been able to get around Stroll yet. Now he has the slipstream in the DRS. Stroll with a huge block keeping Hamilton behind him. Now Hamilton finally gets a chance to try to overtake Stroll as Malik goes headed to the pit lane. I believe the front wing has just gotten too damaged. He fits on the set of hearts. He's trying to go to the end. So he's got to help everybody else. Possibly on a two-stop strategy, he's able to leapfrog them. However, he's made 2 stops already. Verstappen finally trying to rejoin the battle, getting around Kubica. Marco into the pit lane. Sergio Perez follows suit. Alexander Albon does not. So that means Alexander Albon again this season. This is probably the 3rd time this season. Alexander Albon will take over the race lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. Raikkonen, Grosjean, and Russell all pit as well. And that would be everybody. Waiting on Albon. Hamilton up to 2nd. Stroll has yet to pit, as well as Kubica and Giovinazzi. Alexander Albon being hunted by the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton. Those drivers who are on mediums, they pit for a set of hards. So those drivers are going on a 1-stopper. Now caution in sector 1. That's Malico going around. And he's done. And that is not what he needed to see. He was Renault's one chance at still being able to contend for the title, and it's over. Alexander Albon retreats to the pit lane, and Lewis Hamilton takes over the race lead. That puts Tyler Markle in 2nd and on the same straightaway as Lewis Hamilton, under 3 seconds away. Does Hamilton have the tires to make it to the end? And if not, Markle is in prime position here for a good outcome as he just come up to the halfway point of this race. Next lap, Albon, Stroll, Kubica, and Giovinazzi all pit as we expected. So the varying strategies here have Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, Leclerc, Gasly, Sainz, Vettel, Magnussen, Norris. Those 9 started the race on soft tires. And they have switched on to the mediums. Those mediums, as we saw by the rest of the grid who started the race on mediums, does not go, or is not slated to go past lap 22, 23, if you're lucky. Where they're at 9 laps. They're trying to get to 16. So yeah, another 7 laps, so 24. Markle sets the fastest lap, by the way, on hards, a 1:22.393. So those guys, if they're not pitting for another set of soft tires, and they're pitting for a set of mediums, unless they're splitting this stint more in half than what we think, it's not going to pay off too well. Especially when drivers like Markle and Perez have embedded themselves already into the top 10, and well within striking distance of clinching a podium, depending on how pit stops go. Albon at the moment is the third driver on the one-stop strategy. So it depends what set of tires are these drivers able to go to. Do they have another set of softs lying around? Did they use them all up in quali, or are they able to capitalize on a fresher set of mediums as much as drivers who would be able to on a fresh set of softs? That is still yet to come. Marco has closed the gap incrementally but noticeably, now about half a second closer and gaining 2.3 seconds the gap. Last time we checked it was a 2.9. By the way, that guy is hot lapping around here. Markle is on a set of hards, by the way. The tires with the least amount of grip, but they are one of the freshest in the field. You got to think about Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, Magnussen, Vettel, and Norris. They're all on mediums, and they're on worn out mediums. 10, 11 laps old. I mean, these drivers that started the race on mediums went about 16, 15 laps on them. So if that's the case, these mediums are approaching their tire life expiration. Markle has a big moment onto the DRS straight through the flat-out right-hander that leads to that straightaway. Gap still 2.3 seconds. Even though those are the most durable tire, you are going a long time on those tires. You want to be able to preserve the good life out of them and not just the average life out of them. But now it's under 2 seconds, now a 1.9 advantage for Lewis Hamilton down the front stretch, but gains over 2 seconds now into turn number 1. Take a look at Max Verstappen, 6.5 back of all of this, and Bottas 10.5 back. Leclerc 12.25 back. Sainz 18 back. Gasly 18.5 back. Perez 20.25 back. Magnussen is 22.5 back. Albon did get around Magnussen for the 9th position on fresher tires, even though they're the harder tires. Albon, Lando Norris to the pit lane. He's giving up on those mediums, but where does he go? There's still a lot of laps to go. I believe he's splitting this in half and going to mediums for the rest of the race. Two-stop strategy. They're replacing the front wing, Lando Norris, and they're putting on a set of hards. Now we're joined by my Malenka after a strong run there, a valiant effort, but was not able to close on Hamilton enough and made a mistake in this first sector. Malenka, what happened?
Oh, just at the start of the race, lap 1 on the backstretch DRS straight, just going down, and then I don't know what Lando Norris was doing. He punted me off the racetrack and then hit me when I was getting back on. So I had a yellow wing for that. And after that, I was kind of just not caring much. When did I pit? We're just fucking around playing bumper cars with a few cars.
So as you were talking there, Verstappen, Bottas, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, Vettel, Magnussen all pit for a fresh set of mediums. They're splitting this last stint in half. I don't think that's very advantageous to those who started on the softs. Okay, again, they were forced to start on the softs, and I guess they couldn't pit for a set of hards, but this race looks like Markle is in great position to do this by starting last on the grid. Anybody who's starting outside the top 10 on the grid able to start on the set of tires they wished, and it looks to be that advantageous. What did you think of your strategy heading into this and comparing it to the second half of the starting grid strategies that starting the race on mediums as Hamilton heads to pit lane? Nice. Hamilton is down and away, and he is out, and he's trying to get up to speed now. Fresh mediums. He's got 12 laps to gain 18 and a half seconds. I just don't think that's doable for Lewis Hamilton. 19 seconds as he gets up to speed. At the moment, Sergio Perez is on the podium. But a hungry Max Verstappen looks to find a way around Alexander Albon and chase down Sergio Perez. Verstappen, a man on a mission, looking for a podium. Marco's got a huge advantage on the rest of the field. But you love to see it. If you look down the running order on the left side, half the grid was on one strategy, the other half of the grid was on another strategy. And you look at the leaderboard now, the standings of this race right now, it is all mixed up. The varying strategies have mixed the order up as they should. And what a great result we're getting out of this race. Albon a major block on Verstappen, but to no avail. Verstappen around the outside of Albon. Albon fighting back though. But Verstappen will clear Albon through the exit of turn 2. Sebastian Vettel sets the fastest lap, a 1:21.819. The only thing is, the position Vettel sets that from 17th. You gotta feel bad for Vettel. That's an absolute rocket ship, and he's not having any result to show for it, and at the moment no points to show for it. He is 20 seconds back of his teammate who sits 10th in this race. Yeah, it's tough. Lewis Hamilton, another man on a mission, a 1:21.617 on a fresh set of mediums. He's looking to close on that Renault. He's got 10 laps to gain 17 and a half seconds. Hamilton, the hard-charging Mercedes driver, hunting for a Renault, 17 seconds in the distance. Actually, they're coming around to 10 laps ago, so 11 laps to do it. Can he do it? As we run, the hards on that Renault will get older, will have less grip. Though they're the most durable, they wear at some point. And is that point in the remaining 10 and a few miles laps. .9 seconds and lowering the hard charging Brit in the Mercedes. Absolutely rocketing onto the front stretch now. Huge increments that he's gained on Renault. Kind of stalling out through the halfway point of the straightaway and into turn 1. He gains more. Max Verstappen getting around Sergio Perez. And clear. And up onto the podium for Sergio Perez. Or for Max Verstappen. I believe third place is all that Red Bull's gonna get should nothing else happen. Pierre Gasly to the 13th position over George Russell. And a caution in sector 1. Robert Kubica has a problem. That's a done day. That's the second retirement of the day. This one from Williams. Robert Kubica, an issue. He was on the alternate strategy starting this race on a set of mediums. With about 8 laps remaining in the Spanish Grand Prix, he will not be classified and will physically finish 19th. Max Verstappen, the hard-charging Dutchman, a 1:21.547 on a set of mediums in that Red Bull. He's charging, but for what it looks to be, unless Hamilton has an issue, that is about the position he will end up in, Max Verstappen. Back up front, Markle has kind of held his ground. Hamilton, at the start of his stint on the fresh mediums, was lapping, gaining a second a lap. Hasn't gained more than a second in the past 2 laps for Hamilton. And now it's a 16-second advantage coming off the final corner. 8 laps remaining in the Spanish Grand Prix for Renault driver Tyler Markle. This helps out in the constructors, as it should. It should tie at the moment the payout of the points Mercedes will get from this race. Actually, it'll do one better. At the moment, Verstappen holds the fastest lap. Albon fighting Kimi Räikkönen for a spot in the top 5. Räikkönen in the Alfa Romeo goes to the 5th position over Alexander Albon. How cool is this? Now Räikkönen in the Alfa Romeo setting his sights on Sergio Perez in a racing point. Valtteri Bottas in the distance. Charles Leclerc in 10th, Vettel up to the 15th position. And if you're rooting for Lewis Hamilton, you're not going to want to hear this. Markle is extending the gap once again to Lewis Hamilton. Incrementally, again, these are 2 great drivers. But that is almost solidifying the race for the Renault team. Tyler Markle, as long as he can get through these next 6 laps unharmed, untouched, problematic free. Lap traffic also in the talks. About 5 seconds up the road, we see McLaren driver Lando Norris. On the same straightaway as Tyler Markle. 6 laps to go here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz, George Russell, they're going at it for 15th. Vettel up to the 14th position. Points still a long shot for Vettel, 15 seconds in front. of Vettel. Albon back ahead of Kimi Räikkönen for the 5th position. Albon trying to get a huge payout in points. At the moment, Toro Rosso 5th and 9th would be a double points day for Toro Rosso. They are rooting hard for that. Kvyat has to fend off Leclerc, and even if he gets passed by Leclerc, who's on 5-lap fresher hards, Lance Stroll is another 9 seconds back and not in contention at the moment for a points paying position. So should nothing happen to either Toro Rosso, it looks that they will come home a double points paying finish for Toro Rosso. And you think about the teams at the moment that can't say that. Renault, at the moment, Red Bull, Racing Point, Alfa Romeo, though we wouldn't expect them to, and Haas will not be able to, at the moment, capitalize on a double points paying finish. There's still 5 laps remaining in the Spanish Grand Prix and anything can happen, but just knowing the nature of this kind of racing, it looks as if some big teams won't be able to capitalize and get a points paying finish for both drivers. And Toro Rosso swooping in at the moment 5th and 9th. Those are some good advantages they have at the moment, even over 10th place, and Kvyat has 10 seconds plus on Lance Stroll, who's 11th. So a great day for Toro Rosso. The gap over the last few laps, now 4 laps to go for Tyler Markle, has plateaued between Hamilton and Markle. 16 seconds and no more, no less. 16 seconds, that's it. Verstappen doesn't look to be gaining on Hamilton. We didn't expect him to, though Verstappen started on the front row ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Sergio Perez comfortably in the 4th position at the moment. And Alexander Albon trying to hold on to the 5th position over Kimi Räikkönen. But don't look too soon. There's a hard charging Finn of Valtteri Bottas. And the dueling Albon and Räikkönen sounds pretty enticing to the Mercedes driver Valtteri Bottas. Albon clears Räikkönen again, as Räikkönen had a go at Albon into turn 1, and Valtteri Bottas setting his sights into this battle and betting himself into this battle with well over 3 laps remaining, 4.5 laps remaining in the 3.5 laps remaining in the Spanish Grand Prix for these 3 drivers to settle it out for a 5th place finish. And now Bottas has to work his way around Räikkönen at first, then Albon. He's got 3.5 laps to do it. Can he do it? We will see. Three laps remaining for Tyler Markle. 16 seconds in front, Lewis Hamilton. 20 and the 3rd second in front of Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez 32.5 back. Albon 35.5 back. Räikkönen 36.5 back. Bottas 36.5 back as they battle for the 6th position. Bottas looking to the right side of Räikkönen now. Räikkönen diving all the way to the middle of the track. Bottas trying to clear Räikkönen. Räikkönen fights back through turn 1. Bottas able to clear Räikkönen, but Räikkönen is not done. Bottas, though, with that acceleration, with the fresher tires and the softer compound, can Albon hold off the hard-charging Finn Mercedes driver Valtteri Bottas another 2.5 laps around Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. Marco's advantage over Romain Grosjean, 42 seconds. Kvyat at 42 and a half. Leclerc, 43. Lance Stroll, 53. Sebastian Vettel, 55 and a half. Kevin Magnussen, 56 and a quarter. Pierre Gasly, 57 and a half. Carlos Sainz, 58. George Russell, 1 minute 3. Antonio Giovinazzi, 1 minute 12 and a half. And Lando Norris, 1 minute 21. Two laps remaining. Bottas is there on the gearbox of Alexander Albon. Tyler Markle making huge gains on Lando Norris. Will he lap Lando Norris by the end of the Grand Prix? He's coming around to start the final lap this time by. Can Albon fend off a hard charging Valtteri Bottas? It'll be interesting how bad does Alexander Albon want a 5th place finish, and how embarrassing would it be for Valtteri Bottas to not get a top 5 when Hamilton well implanted onto the podium. Markle starting the final lap of the Spanish Grand Prix, pulling up to Sergio Perez. Valtteri Bottas will have another couple goes here at Alexander Albon. Here we go through the final chicane, and to go once more. Does Bottas get around Alexander Albon? Here we go into the front stretch. Albon, how bad does he want a top 5? Bottas is going to pull right to the inside of Albon. Albon trying to fight back. Bottas clears Albon. Really no fight for the 5th position. Valtteri Bottas clears Albon and will set sail. Speaking of set sail, Tyler Markle has done that and has lapped Lando Norris by the way 15.7 seconds out in front of Lewis Hamilton. Guess where this guy started? Last. Guess how many laps it took for him to get to the lead? 8. And ever since then, he's stayed right in contention with his winning strategy at the moment. Tyler Markle wins the Spanish Grand Prix. And your podium celebration, Renault, Mercedes, Red Bull represented, and Markle on the top step over Hamilton and Verstappen. And we load back. We'll take a look at the standings. We'll see how big of an impact this does. Hamilton, again, gaining points on 2nd place Malenko. But does Malenko hold on to 2nd? With another DNF, I don't believe he will. Take a look. Markle has now overtaken Malenko for the 2nd position. By looking up there, it's an 80-point advantage Lewis Hamilton has over Tyler Markle. That's 3 Grand Prix. 3 full Grand Prix, so if a win in the fastest lap would be 78 points plus a 9th place finish. Hard to overcome that. Looking at constructors, that is still within reach. It is still within 40 points. It is 39 points between Mercedes and Renault. Let me take a look at the standings. Or the results from the 16th Grand Prix of the 21 Grand Prix season. Markle now winning the last 2 Grand Prix. Did not capitalize, was not able to get the fastest lap. That went to, I believe, Max Verstappen. Yes, I believe Verstappen had the fastest. No, Sebastian Vettel had the fastest, but he did not finish in the points to take advantage of it. So that's that. Marco, how about that hard-fought victory from last to first in 8 laps, and then after that, how confident were you in the strategy?
I didn't know the strategy was going to do that, but once we got to the first pit stop, or after everybody else made the first pit stop, as long as we kept our pace, I felt like we could have won it like we did. So.
You didn't think you were gonna go from dead last on the grid to having a 15-second advantage over Lewis Hamilton
Nope.
at the end?
Nope.
Well, how about that? Next week, we're at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the Canadian Grand Prix. Make sure you join us then for the 17th Grand Prix of the season.